Linux Mint versus Windows 11, the ultimate productivity battle. Are you tired of OS distractions, lagging apps, and a desktop that fights you instead of helping? Today, we pit Linux Mint's Cinnamon desktop against Windows 11 in a real-world productivity gauntlet. Document sprints, heavy multitasking, and creative exports. No fluff, just workflows. Let's find out which OS actually helps you get more done. Quick overview. This isn't a synthetic benchmark rundown. We're testing the daily stuff, writing and formatting documents, switching between dozens of browser tabs and apps, editing a short 1080p video, and pushing the system with complex image edits. I'll run the same tasks on identical hardware where possible and share observable results, UX differences, and practical recommendations for different kinds of users.
The unboxing, first impressions, and setup. Windows 11, modern installer, tight hardware checks, TPM secure boot during setup, and a UI that aims to be polished for mainstream users. Initial setup walks you through an ecosystem-first experience: Microsoft account, cloud features, and pre-installed apps. Linux Mint, Cinnamon. Designed for an out-of-the-box desktop experience, Cinnamon is the flagship edition, focused on familiarity and a straightforward user experience. The installer is simple, and the OS comes bundled with most codecs and essential utilities, so you can often hit the ground running. Real-world install and driver support. Windows has very broad driver support for mainstream hardware, and vendors ship drivers tested for Windows. That often means less manual driver hassle for GPUs, Wi-Fi, and peripherals.
Linux Mint detects many devices out of the box and includes a driver manager for additional proprietary drivers. But certain proprietary GPU driving stacks, especially cutting-edge AMD NVIDIA features, and some laptop-specific power management quirks, may require a bit of manual setup or vendor-specific drivers. Daily driver workflow, the productivity gauntlet. Document creation, Office versus LibreOffice. For standard document workflows, writing, basic tables, slides, both OSs deliver. Microsoft Office on Windows remains the gold standard for complex, enterprise-grade documents and advanced Excel features. LibreOffice is a strong, free alternative that handles most everyday tasks well. If you rely on advanced Excel macros, complex pivot tables, or real-time collaboration inside the Office 365 ecosystem, Windows plus Microsoft Office will give you fewer headaches. For solo writing, research, and standard spreadsheets, LibreOffice on Linux Mint is a very capable, lightweight option.
Multitasking and window management. Cinnamon provides powerful, familiar window management with workspace controls and low idle resource usage. It's easy to configure to your workflow. Windows 11 brings snap layouts, virtual desktops, and tighter integration with cloud features and Microsoft services. In practice, for productivity-heavy multitasking, 20-plus tabs, multiple Office apps, Slacks, Teams, both hold up. But Linux Mint's lower baseline resource usage often translates to cooler fans and snappier feel on older hardware. Creative powerhouse, media and beyond. Video editing. Windows benefits from native commercial software ecosystems: Adobe Premiere, Resolve with full vendor driver support, and DaVinci Resolve and other pro tools tend to be more stable on well-supported Windows driver stacks.
On Linux Mint, open-source editors like Kdenlive are surprisingly capable for many creators. DaVinci Resolve has a Linux build and is very powerful, but it can be temperamental depending on GPU vendor and drivers. NVIDIA setups tend to have the smoothest experience on Linux. Image editing. Photoshop is still Windows, macOS first. GIMP and Krita on Linux are excellent for many workflows. But if you depend on very specific Photoshop-only plugins or non-portable filters, Windows remains the safer choice. Test and metrics. Export times for a 2-minute 1080p timeline, RAM or CPU usage traces during render export, and final file size comparisons. The ecosystem and beyond. Customization and community. Customization. Cinnamon is built for customization. Themes, applets, panel tweaks, and extensions are easy and plentiful. Windows 11 has polish and curated UI, but deep UI customization is more limited and often requires third-party tools.
Software availability. Windows offers unmatched native compatibility for commercial apps and games.
Linux counters with rich package managers, apt, Flatpak, Snap, app image ecosystems that make installing and updating software straightforward and system-wide, a powerful advantage for reproducible setups and fast maintenance. Community and support. Linux Mint has an active, helpful community and detailed forums. Windows offers enterprise-grade support channels and a massive user base with extensive documentation. The verdict. Who wins the productivity crown? Short answer, it depends on your priorities. Choose Windows 11 if you need the broadest commercial software compatibility, Adobe Suite, advanced Microsoft Office features, many professional creative or business apps, superior vendor driver support out of the box, and a polished mainstream UX.
Choose Linux Mint Cinnamon if you want a lightweight, highly customizable desktop that stays responsive on modest hardware, prefer open source tools, value privacy and control, and are comfortable with occasional manual fixes for niche hardware issues. Practical recommendations. For writers, researchers, and general office users on older or mid-range hardware, Linux Mint is an excellent choice. For professional creatives who rely on specific commercial plugins, studio apps, or guaranteed driver support, Windows 11 is the safer bet. Closing. If you want, I'll publish a follow-up where I show the exact benchmarking steps, open the project files, and walk through driver installs for tricky hardware. Which OS should I deep dive into first? Comment below, like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want full technical breakdowns and downloadable test files.